Hogstye.
Well, that was an embarrassing display last night. I'm saying that because it's right now for us, but people will listen tomorrow. So, last night. It's Alex with you, the Hogstye. It's just me and Steve today. Don't know where Jamal is. Rob is working. We do know that. So, he's got an excused absence. Steve, we kind of talked about a lot of things that could have happened in this game, and the one thing I don't think we considered was Dwayne Haskins having 4 turnovers in one game.
Yeah, that was a bit surprising to me. He's been pretty decent about the interceptions in the past.
And fumbles even. Like, he hasn't done a lot of it, No,
look, it's going to be the, tar and feather Dwayne Haskins on Constitution Avenue this week parade, for sure. But just remember this, people. Yeah, he was bad. Definitely. But the offensive line was atrocious.
Sure.
Nobody not named Terry McLaurin can get separation, and the wide receiver group can get separation at all. The running game was okay at times. It had its moments, but it's not a consistent effort. There is nothing on this offense that helps him at all.
No.
And so I do think it's fair to say that as bad as Haskins was today, in some regards, he's definitely pressing, and he's not good enough to be pressing and actually get it done.
No,
so that kind of exacerbates the problem a little bit. So yes, he sucked, but if you guys are just forgiving everybody else, including Ron Rivera, by the way, I'll get to him. It was really a team effort at Suckitude today.
It was, and I think we're going to want to talk about this offense for the bulk of the show. I want to hit the defense overall first.
Okay.
Just to get them out of the way, and then we can focus on the offense for like 20 minutes, and we'll talk about the defense for 10, that kind of thing.
Want me to do stats real fast?
Yeah, why don't you give us some numbers?
Right. Okay, so stats: Dwayne Haskins was 21 for 37, 224 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, was sacked 3 times, had a rating of 58.8, and a completion percentage of 57%, which is frankly on par for him. Antonio Gibson, 9 for 49, average 5.4 yards per carry, long of 13. AGG had that one carry, 1 for 22. J.D. McKissick, 5 for 15. Isaiah Wright, 1 for 6. Peyton Barber, 3 for 6. And Dwayne Haskins had 2 scrambles for 2 yards. Receiving-wise, Terry McLaurin once again proves himself. 4 receptions, 83 yards on 8 targets. Dontrell Inman, 2 touchdowns, 3 for 38. J.D. McKissick, 3 for 37. Logan Thomas, 4 for 31 on 7 targets. Isaiah Wright, 4 for 24. Antonio Gibson, 3 for 11. And AGG had 2 targets but no receptions. On the Cleveland Browns offense side, Baker Mayfield was 16 for 23, 156 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a quarterback rating of 117. Yikes. And he had a completion percentage of 70%. Nick Chubb,
do it.
Yeah, Chubb went 19 for 108, 5.7 yards per carry, long of 25. Kareem Hunt was 16 for 46. Receiving-wise, Odell Beckham was 4 for 59. Jarvis Landry was 4 for 36. Austin Hooper was 3 for 25. Kareem Hunt was 2 for 18. The fumbles was Steven Sims lost 1. Dwayne Haskins lost 1. And then the 3 interceptions. Defense-wise, John Allen and John Bassett both had 9 tackles. The sacks were Allen with 1 and Montez Sweat with 1.
I thought Sweat had 2 because he had the strip and the...
Oh, he's credited as having 1.
Oh, okay. Oh, you know what? They called 1 grounding, so that doesn't get counted.
Yeah, that was not a sack, right. Yeah, and on the Brown side, I'll just go over the sacks. Myles Garrett had 2, including that strip sack, and then Sheldon Richardson had 1. So that is stats, overall stats for the day. Is that I would like to point out here, as long as we're talking stats, we're going defense, right?
Yeah, let's talk defense first.
Okay, so at halftime, the Browns' running game was 16 for 59, and that is an average of, I didn't write this down, and my calculator is goofing up. That is an average of, dang it.
It's in the 3s, I can tell you that.
Yeah, it's 3.7. Sorry, my calculator's not probably. It's 3.7 yards per carry. By the end of the game, They were up to 4.3. Um, the defense really wore down quite a
Right.
bit in this game. You just can't keep a quality running team down forever. Look, here's defensively. It's fair to say I think we've proven by this point that the Washington has a decent pass rush.
Sure.
They do get their sacks, but they don't really do anything else very good. Okay, I mean they're a decent to slightly below average team in the run, and their secondary is still hot garbage in most areas. So I just if you were expecting this defense to take a big step forward, I never thought that was going to happen because of their weaknesses are key weaknesses. And then on top of that, they lost Chase Young, they
Right.
lost Ryan Anderson, they lost Matt Ioannidis. Landon Collins went out briefly. There were a bunch of injuries, but the bottom line is, I just don't think this defense, as a whole, is nearly as good as everybody hoped, with the exception of the pass rush. And the pass rush didn't really get it done this week.
No, it didn't. I mean, you did have a couple good pressures by Sweat. Kerrigan didn't do anything. Um, Young was doing okay until he got hurt, and you're hoping that's minor. I mean, I don't think we've gotten anything other than we know it was a groin injury. They said on the air. Hopefully, they're just kind of keeping that as a precaution at this point.
Yeah, if we get something before the end of the show, we'll try to
Right.
pass it on.
Right. But yeah, the defense still the line looked okay with Young out and Ioannidis out, but there were definitely some serious issues, especially when Anderson was in there on some run plays, and they just got gashed on his side a couple
They
times,
absolutely
especially that
did.
first big touchdown run,
Yeah.
the cutback. Like he was way out of position at that point.
And frankly, the run game is supposed to be his thing. And
Right.
aren't you supposed to be the dude that can seal the edge?
Right.
Because you're not a pass rusher, Ryan Anderson,
No.
particularly. You're supposed to be able to seal the edge, and you don't.
And he got. I mean, they were using him wrong, frankly, because they kept on putting him in on third downs, where it should have been a pass rush situation. Like
I didn't really understand that.
Yeah. Why is he in there and not Sweat or Kerrigan? Like,
They're lucky. What we said about the Browns ahead of time is this is kind of a blah team. They're not that good. Okay, their defense is very average. They're not. It's not exotic. They're not doing anything special. Their offense, Baker Mayfield, isn't that good. He weirdly doesn't have chemistry with two of the best receivers in football. But I mean, they're average when our team is below average, and
Right.
so hence the victory.
yes.
That's the if you want to simplify it, that's what it is. An average at best team beat a way below average team.
Right.
That's what
Right.
happened today.
Yeah, it was. And now we should say, Washington came back into this thing at one point. We were leading again in the second half after being down 10 points.
Yeah, close counts and horseshoes and hand
Yeah, I
games.
know. I'm saying it's not like they just quit right away.
This is what we've come to after years and years doing this show.
Right.
They didn't quit right away.
Well, that's 2019 Bill Callahan quit right away offense. Like
Exactly. Never get started.
yeah. Oh, we
basically.
ran the ball really well for the first two drives. All right, let's just call it a day. That was Bill
Yeah,
Callahan.
I mean, Nick Chubb is sort of a classic NFL runner from years gone by, wherein if you give him enough time and enough carries, he's eventually going to get rolling. Like he started out first quarter, 4 carries, 6 yards. Halftime, 12 for 53, which is 4.1, 4.2 yards per carry.
Sure.
Third quarter, 14 for 58, less than 4. All of a sudden, he's got 108 yards. It's when the defense gets worn down, he just will keep after you and after you and after you, and eventually he's going to get his.
Right.
That's kind of Nick Chubb. And again, Washington just isn't good enough to hold down any decent running game for all 4
And
quarters.
also worth noting, 21 points came off of Haskins' turnovers that all those drives started basically in field goal range.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Washington can't make mistakes like that.
No.
The Browns, it's really the Browns that in the past 2 games have made a bunch of mistakes like that.
Right.
Washington hasn't.
Right.
They just, were Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde for different halves in the past 2 games.
Yeah.
This week they killed themselves with mistakes, and there were also some penalties, and you're involved in that. But yeah, defensively, I mean, I don't know what you can say about defense. I mean, Kendall Fuller didn't really show up too much.
The secondary was fairly quiet, but the Browns were run first, so that's not surprising.
Yeah, and they only made 23 pass attempts,
Right.
and that's what the Browns are, is run first. Baker Mayfield just does just enough to not hurt him.
It's kind of what you would hoped Washington would kind of develop into under Rivera pretty quickly, but they're not there yet. They don't have the backs
Right.
for it.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
They don't, and they don't have the receivers either.
No, but frankly, if you're going to be run first, you really shouldn't be spending what the Browns are spending in terms of resources at wide receiver.
You know what a run first offense could have used is Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, could have, but I don't know. I don't know what. I mean, I understand we want to see what young guys have argument, but still, it's frustrating at the same time.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I don't
Yeah.
understand about what the choice this team has made. Like, I do blame Ron Rivera for quitting again. I don't like the way, just generally speaking, first of all, I don't like the way he manages the clock at the end of halves. He wastes a lot of time, and this is the second game in a row he's surrendered.
Yeah.
You just surrendered. You just quit. And yeah, okay, if you want to be ultra cautious and say we had a lot of injuries and all of that, and a quarterback that's lost his confidence, okay, fine. But it's also telling your team that you don't believe in them and you're going to quit because you don't think they can win. Once again, you were within 2 scores. What did you do? Did you try to stop the clock?
No,
of course
you
not.
had 4 minutes where you could have tried to preserve time.
You could have called 3 timeouts, and yeah, they would have had 3 minutes left if they really wanted to do right. And he just quit. If I was a player, to me, it would send the signal that I don't believe in you.
Right.
That's what it tells me.
There's that, and then even at the end of the half.
Yeah, it's same thing.
Now, granted, I think they tried going for it when they had about 3 minutes, and they turned the ball over and got scored on again. But then you had 55 seconds left, and you did what? A run and then a dump-off pass, and that was it?
Yeah, you didn't try.
Yeah.
I'd rather just kneel down.
Right.
And just openly show you surrender. Just surrender.
Right.
Throw in the white flag or something, like boxing. Throw a towel in.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Well, I disagree with what Ron did, because I think if there's 15 seconds left on the clock, throw a Hail Mary. That's my mentality. Is
there a reason not to? Yeah, I mean, do it.
Maybe I've watched too much arena football where 15 seconds is like 3 scores.
What do you think Bill Belichick would have done what he did? What Ron
no,
did?
because Bill Belichick's never down by 10 points.
If he was, he wouldn't surrender.
Oh, no, he absolutely wouldn't. Yeah, he'd go for a field goal. That's, kind of his.
I gotta be honest. I gotta criticize Ron Rivera for the way he's handled it. Some of you out there disagree, and that's fine. Oh, so what? You disagree if you want, but he's been I really strongly disagree with his philosophy.
Yeah, so far, and maybe he is tanking, and he doesn't want to say it, but maybe this is we're going to tank and try and get a high draft pick that can change this team on offense. And
I hope not.
I'd hope not, but I'd also understand it, because we said it a week ago. This team's 11 good players away on offense. Okay, wait, we said 10 because Terry McLaurin's good.
That was your line. It was a good line, I gotta say.
Yes. Yeah.
Just 10 players away.
Yeah.
That's all we are.
Right.
Okay, so to finish up defense here, what are some bright spots?
Sweat had a good game. That's a bright spot.
Yeah, Sweat had a good game. I think he has talent. That may be the only bright spot I can see out of this group right now.
Here's the thing. The linebackers didn't play terribly. And we got gashed in the run game in the second half, but I think that's more of a product of, bad field position.
But in terms of impact players,
no, we had no impact players.
And listen, I keep saying it. The defensive line needs to be much better than it is, considering there are now 4 number 1 draft picks starting on this defensive line.
5.
Well, the starters are 4 of them, and then you throw in Ryan Kerrigan as your 5th.
Sorry. So, and then your best defensive tackle might be the 4th round pick, Matt Ioannidis.
Yeah, exactly. And so these guys are underperforming. They've underperformed.
Right.
All of them have underperformed since they've been here. Deron Payne had a decent game today with a couple plays, but by and large, John Allen and Deron Payne are not nearly the impact players that we hoped. I don't think. Chase Young had his day, and he's going to get a lot better, hopefully.
Right.
He had an impact in the Philly game, but since then,
Yeah. No, let's be fair to him that he was out for most of this game. You know, he left.
Absolutely, definitely.
Him and Ioannidis both got hurt. What,
Don't
first quarter?
misunderstand me. I mean, he's a rookie in his third game. I mean,
Right.
I'm not expecting him to be,
No, no,
you
no.
know, off the charts. But my point is, none of these guys consistently make an impact, and at various times, with the exception of Young, because he's so new, they've all underperformed drastically
We've
and
seen
underperformed their draft status.
we saw a lot of good flashes from Young, even in the Arizona game. Like he
Yeah,
popped out, like that there was that screenplay where he kind of changed direction and
yeah.
ran it down and things like that. And this game was the first one from Sweat that he's kind of flashed. Now, if the two of them together can start doing that on a regular basis, then you might have something.
On the other hand, this was a mediocre Cleveland Browns team with a so-so
Right.
defensive line and a quarterback who's mediocre. So,
Sure.
I would hope they would flash against a team like that.
You'd hope so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's switch sides.
All
Let's
right.
talk about
Offense.
this offense because that's
It's
all you
ugly,
can
man.
say.
Look,
Um,
so Dwayne Haskins. Let's just get him out of the way first, because again, I just know it's going to be a bash Dwayne Haskins week,
I think we're
and I'm
going to
not.
get back to Dwayne Haskins a couple times. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm not here to defend him necessarily. He's been bad, and he hasn't really gotten better. But Um, I think what the way the Redskins franchise handled him last year through this year is a textbook on how to ruin a quarterback.
Sure.
Okay? I mean, they had a coach who didn't want him. That coach got fired and replaced by a dude running a 1968 offense with no talent.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's got a different coach who's undeniably a better coach. But, he still has no talent around him. And he still switched systems, again. And so we're at game this was game 12 for him.
Sure.
And it was start 10. So we're getting to the point where we need to see something from the guy. Nobody expects him to be a Hall of Famer immediately, but there's some other rookies or his class that are starting to do stuff and starting to look better, and he's just not.
Right. And I think, now, does he lack a good line? Yes.
He lacks he lacks
an
even
average line.
line.
Yes.
Yeah, they suck.
Yeah. They play good enough to get him, I don't know, 2 seconds on average, something like that. There are guys who actually time it with a stopwatch, but
yeah,
let's just say that's where he's at. And other guys get 3 to 4 sometimes. Like he doesn't.
Look how much time Mayfield got at times today.
I don't think Haskins has ever had 4 seconds in the pocket in his,
Entire
in this
career.
season. Yeah.
No.
So I don't, but at the same time, like they haven't found what his comfort zone is, and even in simple plays that you should hit 90% of the time, dump offs, screens, it's the overthrow thing, man. Like he overthrows every target every time.
I think part of that is he's throwing off his back foot.
Right.
That's part of it. Part of it is he's making bad reads and forcing the ball into spots where he shouldn't do that. And the reason for that is none of these receivers but McLaurin ever get any separation from anybody.
Right.
And so I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I think a better coach would have helped Haskins with his technique a lot more. Better talent around him with a running game would make him feel more comfortable and make him feel like he doesn't have to press like that. So I think it's a combination of a lot of things with Haskins, and I just think he's really not getting the big the ubiquitous it. I don't think he's really getting it very well and nearly as fast as we all hoped. And part of that was he hadn't played very much. In college he had played 1 year. I kind of ignored that, when I watched this film 2 years ago, and that was a mistake by me. There's a reason why Bill Parcells liked guys who were like 3-year starters.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that, there are some truisms to those old Parcells 5 rules of what a, winning quarterback
there are.
is.
So you take a combination of 3 different coaches, 2 different systems, horrible talent around him. He's getting pressured all the time. A guy who's inexperienced with technique problems. It's not a recipe for success, and so that's what we're seeing here. This has been basically numbers-wise. This is kind of on the par with what we've seen from him. 57% completion rating of 58% or 58 rating. A few more interceptions. This is kind of what we've seen throughout his career, and at some point, the excuses need to stop. I mean, he's going to get blamed for this no matter if he should or not.
Well, for this particular game, he absolutely should.
Yes.
His mistakes lost this game. He's
Yeah, I agree.
responsible for about 21 points of the defense. Those drives killed them.
Yep.
Like this loss, you could maybe argue the first loss last week was not on him. Like that was a team loss, but
Well, the
this one,
interceptions were also all on him. This is not a
yeah,
case
oh,
where like
absolutely, that's
careened
what I'm
off
saying.
somebody's hand and somebody made a great play. Where misreads,
No,
bad
he's staring
passes,
down guys, and
staring down the guys, receivers.
they're his first target. It's usually some interior, receiver. It's not like
And he's lucky
throwing
there wasn't
outside.
one more too. By the way, he had another one that should have been
Yeah,
caught. Should have
yeah.
been full.
Well, the screen pass that should have been caught by the
Yeah,
other team,
yeah, that was
where
what
he
I was thinking of.
overthrew a receiver or a running back by about 2 feet.
Yeah. So that's Haskins.
Yep.
On the positives, I thought Antonio Gibson looked a little bit more like a starting running back today.
He's starting to improve a little bit.
He
Yeah.
looked a little bit more comfortable, hitting the interior gaps in the offensive line, such as they were. He had some more consistent production. Now, it stands to be seen if he could do that, getting 25 carries a game instead of 9. Probably couldn't, but I thought at least he looked a little bit more comfortable. So that's good. J.D. McKissick looks like a playmaker in spurts. He's another guy. I think you throw him in there all the time, he wouldn't be very good. But when you kind of can use him sort of sporadically, has a chance to do some damage. So that's good. Isaiah was
one really nice catch at one
yeah,
point.
he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. The 26-yarder.
Yeah.
It was good to see Isaiah Wright get in the game and get some playing time. I mean, he didn't make an impact necessarily, but it was good to see that. Dontrell Inman made an impact, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know the status of his hand. He went in the locker room with a wrist injury. It looked to me like a
looked
wrist.
like he dislocated his wrist or broke something.
Yeah.
It didn't look good. The way he was carrying it, where it was just kind of limp, did not look
Yeah.
good.
That's another thing. If we get some info on this before the show ends,
Yeah.
We'll pass that on. But it's kind of what we've seen from the 2020 Redskins this entire season. There are times when in spurts certain players can make an impact, but overall it's a very consistent offense.
Well, here's what I'm starting to get a vibe of, and tell me if I'm kind of off here, Steve. I get the vibe that they're too in love with gadget players all of a sudden to a point where it's a detriment. Like Gibson and AGG and Wright, and even Steve Sims. These aren't, traditional NFL receivers or running backs. They're all kind of gadget athlete types.
Well, yeah, I agree with you. And you notice that they run a lot of reverses. They run a lot of jet sweeps by wide receivers.
Sure.
What they don't have is a guy who's a Z receiver who is going to make an impact running the entire route tree.
Right.
That's what they lack, and I think that's sort of what you're getting at. They've got a bunch of these gadget guys. Steven Sims, I love him. Undrafted free agent, outplayed his
guys named Steve.
Expectations.
It's
yeah, of
that.
course. But he and Antonio Gibson are kind of that. J.D. McKissick, kind of that. So they do need another sort of traditional wide receiver or two. A Dontrell Inman type who is a impact receiver. That's what they need.
They need I think gadget guys are fun. Like, don't get me wrong, they're fine to have guys like, and we've seen San Francisco use a couple of these guys and have some success on a couple drives, but you can use that maybe for 1 or 2 drives a game. It can't be the backbone of your offense. Not in the NFL. Like in college, colleges do that all the time, where their entire offense is based off of run pass option, triple option, like all these option type offenses, and it works at that level because you can out athlete guys. You're not going to do that in the NFL on a regular basis,
and nor do they have players who could out athlete them anyway.
Well, no, yeah, they're taking guys who can do it on the college level, and they can't do it on the NFL level. They can get yards, like all these guys on these reverses that we're talking about. They get 7 yards. That's a great run, but you can't do 30 of those a game.
No. Now let's talk about the offensive line here a little bit. I thought they were mostly atrocious.
Yep.
The entire game. The left side between Rouillet and Wes Martin. How many bad plays did they have? Several. John Christian at times got blown up by Myles Garrett. On that strip sack that was on Christian. Morgan Moses, seems to be the most solid one out of this group. And he's avoiding the penalties for the most part, like he did in the past couple of years. So that's good.
This
Um,
is, yeah, I think he looks healthier than he has been so far, which is a change.
yeah,
Last two
yeah.
years, he hasn't looked healthy.
No, he hasn't. So he's been better, but I mean, when you throw a rookie behind a horrible offensive line, this is part of it. This is why I'm not really defending Haskins because he was
Right.
bad, but
Right.
there are reasons why he was as bad as he was, and it wasn't entirely all on him. It's not. When you have this bad of offensive line and very little talent around you, it's not going to go well. It's just
Mhm.
not, and that's what this is a team. Like I said in the beginning, it's a team. It's a team effort of suck. That's what
It
I'm saying.
is. It's and it's not just that. It's team and coaching staff. Let's not let that they don't get off the hook in this
Yeah, no,
situation.
they don't, and they don't, and they need to establish more of a traditional running game, like you said. They can't have a constant string of jet sweeps and reverses and all this stuff. They really need to have one guy. If it's Antonio Gibson or someone else, maybe they need to give Bryce Love a shot.
I think
Instead
you
of
need to give Love a shot because here's the thing: even when Gibson's running it traditionally, and I'm going to use air quotes for
and he was a
traditional,
little bit better at that in a
he's a
couple
little he's
plays
getting
today.
better at it, but it's mostly him running out of shotgun and him running either to the edge or to the B gap. Like he doesn't run it up the middle because I don't
Well, a
think
little
he's that
bit,
kind of
not
guy.
much.
Yeah,
No, not much. He doesn't, at least. I mean, is there some reason why Peyton Barber can't be made inactive? Is he making some big impact that we can't give Bryce
I
Love a
I,
shot?
I mean he had what 17 carries for 17 yards at one point. Like
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So I I think they might as well try. That's all I'm saying. They need to find somebody can consistently get yards
Y-
on the ground. That's how you help a young quarterback who's struggling.
yes.
Look at Baker Mayfield, for God's sake. Baker Mayfield is no better than Dwayne Haskins, but he has better receivers and he's got an outstanding running game.
Hmm.
So he looks a little better. He's no better. I promise you, he's no better than that. You throw Mayfield into this offense, he would look atrocious too.
I'm sure. Well, and I would say that about most, like except for the Aaron Rodgers, the Drew Breeses of the world, like most
They would
quarterbacks,
make this, yeah, they would make this offense look at least average.
right?
Yes.
Most quarterbacks only are as good as their weapons in their offensive line, and Haskins is looking like he's more in that category right now, and we just don't have the good supporting cast. Um, the one thing we were talking about the running backs, you kind of need to find somebody to be that other running back who can just do a traditional power running,
Yeah.
thing. But I think it holds true for the receivers. We were kind of talking about that earlier. We You need to have multiple like modes for this offense to work. And right now you've got a gadget mode and that's it. And it's only doing so much. If they can find a traditional second receiver to kind of run a traditional passing offense from time to time, and then find a running back who can run a traditional running offense, I think you might have something, but you got to fix that O line first.
Yeah, Dwayne Haskins has to have time in the pocket and not
Yeah.
be constantly pressured all the time, which he is. I tried at the beginning of this game. One of the things I thought I would try to keep track of, because I do this and I'm a nerd like this and keep track of weird things during
Hmm.
games. I started keeping track of the results of passes that went 20 or more yards in the air, but there's so few of them that it was
Right.
kind of pointless. Like he was 1 for 2 at one point in time. One of them was intercepted, and we might have been 1 for 3, I think, at the end of the game in terms of air yards, passes in the air over 20. He's not doing that much. And yes, we said in the pregame show that it needed to be a quick offense, and it does. Because of the line problems. But we do need to get to the point where there's some threat downfield.
Sure.
You can't do this for 16 weeks in a row. You have to have some threat to keep a defense honest, and
They
they
need
really
to start
don't.
sending somebody just deep on every play to kind of
It
balance
needs to
that
be
out.
Steven Sims.
Somebody. I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't think it should just be Steven Sims. Like I think you have enough guys who run a 4-4-4-3 that could do it.
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Um, and it's better if it's not just one guy.
but he needs to take some shots
Yeah,
too.
they need to take
That's
some
the
shots,
thing.
but they also it would help guys like McLaurin. We saw what he can do if he gets the ball and there's a little bit of space for him to make moves. He had of his 4 catches, I think 2 of them, half the yardage came or more came after the catch.
He's helping. That helps the quarterback tremendously.
Exactly, but getting a guy who can go deep on the same side and pulls that safety, That's just going to improve things for him.
Yeah, but he has to take the shots for it to work. It's
Yeah,
kind of like
yeah.
leaving like Kobe Bryant in his prime with the Lakers. They would always double or triple team, and it would leave some scrub open in the corner. But everybody knew the scrub wasn't going to get the ball, and so they ignored him because
Right.
Kobe was going to take every shot, for
Right.
better or for worse, mostly for better. And that's so you have to keep defenses honest by taking. So he hasn't taken a deep shot really all year,
Right.
but maybe that's not true. Oh, he's taken one or two, and that's it. Not many.
He hasn't had time to, which is like
No.
to set those up properly. Maybe you can do a play action pass, and those usually set it up. But
Hey, look,
I wouldn't trust this line to hold up for play action.
a certain person who speaks and writes for the Hogsty advocated for an offensive lineman in round one for the draft for this very reason. I love Chase and all of that, but what we sort of did is made a strength a more of a strength. And what they really needed was to improve some weaknesses, and that's what they did. That was for those of you who think I hate Chase Young because there are people out there. I don't. He looks like he's going to be good or great, but they didn't really help the team.
Well,
they improved his strength. That was
and
my
the Killers.
whole problem.
They didn't even help it in free agency.
No, they just ignored it.
There's a level of, and this is where we're getting close to the end. But one of the things that I think it's fair to kind of judge this team on for the year will be: did Rivera do a good job as general manager or not? Because right now, I'll be honest, I don't see a general man. He's a great coach. I don't know if he needs to be dealing with roster issues right now.
Well, I mean, who knew? Nobody knew he was going to have cancer.
Oh no, I don't. But we didn't know about the cancer during free agency either, and I don't think he did either.
Yeah. I mean, I fault him for giving up on the wide receiver position after Amari Cooper said no.
Kind of standing pat there.
Yeah,
I
fault him for believing Logan Thomas was going to be a starting tight end.
It was a thin tight end group this year. But
you didn't make much of an effort, and I definitely fault them most of all for ignoring the offensive line. I mean, you knew Trent one way or another was going to be gone.
Right.
You knew that, and what did you do? Nothing.
Right.
Okay, well, you drafted Sadiq Charles in round 3, but it was unrealistic to expect, even if he hadn't been hurt, it was unrealistic to expect a third-round draft. Wasn't he third round?
Yeah, third round. And at tackle, no.
It was unrealistic to expect a third-round draft pick to step in and start at tackle and be good.
You can see it maybe at right tackle time to time, or interior linemen do that, but not left tackles.
Yeah, it's just not realistic. And so I do think you can't fix every problem in a year, and we shouldn't expect him to, but I don't think he did enough to really help the team in a free agency. And we're seeing the results of that now.
Yeah, we are.
So what are we seeing? Offensive line problems. What are we seeing? Wide receiver group that threatens literally nobody ever.
Right.
Terry McLaurin is the only one, and the rest of these guys are just a bunch of guys in the view of opposing defenses. They're just a bunch of guys. If they're not threats. I mean, I'm glad to see AGG got on the field a little bit and made an impact.
He had one nice run. That was about it.
He's a rookie from Liberty, and I know, like our buddy Rick, is tired of hearing the Liberty thing. But the reason why it's important is it's a huge adjustment for a dude from Liberty,
right,
to come in. That's why it is important. So it's a bit frustrating. But in terms of this game, it's sort of more of the same, plus many more mistakes from Dwayne Haskins. That's what happened.
Right. I mean, really, we could take the Liberty thing one step further, Steve. Your top wide receivers that you've picked, you got a guy from Liberty, you got a guy from Memphis, you got a guy from Temple, and Steve Sims you got last year from Kansas, which
is one of the worst Power 5 conference schools in the nation.
Like, let's be honest, Memphis and Temple are probably better football teams than Kansas at this point, even though they're mid-majors. They could probably beat Kansas most years. So, these are not guys from top schools. They have talent, and we've seen some good things from them, but they're not top cream of the crop 5-star prospects. You're getting a lot of 1-star guys and hoping they bloom at this point.
Yeah. Oh, that's exactly what they are. So they don't. Yeah, they didn't go out and get any sure things.
No. No, and it's. I think it's showing a little, or a lot.
Showing a lot.
Yeah, it's showing a lot. All right, Steve, we're getting to the end, so I'm assuming you're going to give a game ball to the Browns here.
No,
so,
no. Why do you assume that? I don't do
it's
that in every
usually
loss.
your bit.
I just like doing it.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun.
Right.
But look, okay, so game balls. First of all, nobody on a defense that gave up 34 points deserves a game ball. But if we have to give one, which we do because I make us
Them's the
do
rules.
this. Yeah, those are the rules. I will give Montez Sweat a deflated game ball because he did make a bit of an impact this
Sure.
week when he lost his compadre on the other side. So I reluctantly and by default give Montez Sweat a game ball. Offense is a lot harder, man.
It is.
I mean, good Lord. See, I don't think there's a Cleveland defender that is worthy of the Redskins offensive game ball. That's why I'm not giving them
Sure.
one. There's not one player. It's really the Redskins or the Washington shot themselves in the foot for the most part. By default, I guess Terry McLaurin, because he once again looks like a top receiver,
Mhm.
and had he had a better quarterback, he would have had over 100 yards and a good, very good game, but he doesn't. So Terry McLaurin by default gets a deflated game ball from me.
Terry McLaurin is kind of becoming what Larry Fitzgerald was in Arizona for so many years, where
The only player who was any good.
right. Although he had Anquan Bolden for a couple of years, man, that was a
Yeah,
duo.
It was.
They just couldn't find a quarterback. Okay, so I think I'm gonna go with you on defense. Let's go Montez Sweat. They had a line there, by the way, where they said that was a nice sweat sack, and I was like, oh, that's funny.
A sweaty sack, yeah.
Yeah. No matter who you are, when you hear sweat sack, that kind of
That's funny. Come on, people, that's funny.
All right, you're gonna rag me for it, but I'm gonna give it to Isaiah Wright on offense just because Temple guy, and he had a little bit of an impact.
He did? Did you watch the same game I did?
He had a little bit of an impact.
He's your guy. It's from Temple. I get it. It's fine.
Yeah.
This is not one that's going to go up on his mantle, though.
No,
okay?
no one should be proud of what they did today.
No, definitely not.
That would be my speech to the players when, as soon as
Ron Rivera doesn't need to make a speech because he said everything he needs to say by quitting on his team and not believing on him at the end of the game. His end of game speech was, "I don't believe in you, and so I quit."
Right.
That's what Ron Rivera said today.
Again, we didn't talk about that enough, man. Like, the message he is sending there is so bad. Like, I understand maybe you're trying to build for the future or whatever, but this is not the message you send to the players you want to keep.
It'd be one thing if they were down by 30.
Mm-hmm.
But this is 2 weeks in a row where they were realistically within, they were within 2 scores.
Right.
And you had several
a field
minutes
goal,
left.
a touchdown, and a 2-point.
You're a miracle throw away from being back in the game, and he quit. And he quit 2 weeks in a row. So that is on Rivera. He didn't do the right thing, and he is sending the wrong message to his team.
He's really
saying, "I don't believe in you."
It's depressing and worrying.
He just can't play scared for injuries. That's his reason, which I guess it was last week. We haven't seen his comment this week. You can't worry about that.
No, you can't.
You got to play the game. Again, I just want him just throw in the towel next time. Just don't even bother. Just walk off the field.
Tell the guys to take a knee 8 times in the fourth quarter.
Be more
or something.
honest than what you're doing.
Right.
He gets the goat of the week from me is Ron Rivera for that.
Yeah, and he can defend himself. I'll give him a shot, but that's worrying that he's not kind of taking that stance, and the offensive coordinator is not kind of improving. I'm a little worried about the coaching staff already. So
we're definitely worried about the offensive coaching staff because I don't think they're not putting Dwayne in a position to succeed.
They're not putting anyone in a position to improve. I don't care about success, just improve. I don't see that.
Dwayne's going to take the blame for today, but it's not just him.
No.
At all. And he was pressing because of the situation and because his receivers are just god awful, atrocious for the most part.
And because they don't have a plan B. They have a plan A, which should be your plan C. So yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yes.
No, I understand. Yes, we've said enough.
Yep, we have. All right, let's call this one a wrap. Thank you all for listening to us vent. I hope you all have a good week this week. Who are we playing next weekend?
Oh yeah, the Ravens.
Oh, we can't curse, can we?
Yeah, I mean, you can. Aren't we rated on SoundCloud somehow?
Still, yes, but we're trying not to. We're trying not to curse.
So let's just make sure. Let me check the handy dandy schedule real quick. Let me make sure. Let me see. Is it the Ravens? Oh, look, it's the Ravens. Lamar Jackson,
fuck.
the MVP, is coming to FedEx Field. It's coming to the Big Jack in Raljohn, Maryland. Next week.
Oy
Things
vey.
sure to go wrong.
Oy vey. All right, Steve.
Cheers, everybody.
I'll talk to you later.
All right.
Okay. Bye, everybody.